Yo, boys, what's up? I'm back. We'll be reacting to the Trump speech. I watched the Trump speech 2 hours ago. I would say it was very interesting. It was a very interesting speech, I would say at the least, man. So we're gonna watch it together. Watch it on stream. We'll finish the JD and Joe Rogan episode. We watched the first half of it yesterday. We're gonna watch the second half of it, today. It's still bombing around, so we'll look at some things about that. Then it's probably it's actually gonna be a long stream today because we are gonna go look at the files from the 2020 election, according to the administration that China interfered in the election and Venezuela. So we're gonna go look at that, all that fun stuff. So no matter who, let's get right into it, boys. We're not gonna frown or anything. We're just gonna get straight into the bullshit. We get straight into the bullshit. So just let me drink this real quick. We're not gonna. We'll look at X later. We're just gonna get straight into it. Not on the ground. We have a lot of things to look at. We have a lot of things to look at. So we're just gonna look at the Trump speech. Trump speech. All right. There we go. This is like the really matter. Where's the full thing? All right, there we go.
Good evening. Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer.
He brags about himself the first 10 minutes, so just warning you guys.
Before. We are doing great. Less than 2
Doing
years
great,
ago, we
kids.
inherited
Doing
an
greater than
economic
ever.
and social disaster
Doing greater than ever.
after the worst inflation in 48 years.
All right, okay, this is the full one. All right, sorry, this is the full. That one was like half of it. No, fucking damn it! I should have went back to the other one. All right, there we go.
Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. We are doing great. Less than 2 years ago, we inherited an economic and social disaster after the worst inflation in 48 years, the wide open borders with millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, including criminals of all types, and 11,888 murderers, many of whom killed more than one person. We had transgender for everybody, men and women sports, crime ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us as a nation, but not anymore. 2 years ago, our country was dead. Now, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. America is respected like we have never been respected before. We have more money being invested in the United States than any time in the history of our country. More Americans are working today than ever before. This week it was announced that inflation saw the largest monthly decline in more than 6 years. Just happened. Just given out. The media reported it, and we accept it. The best in 6 years. The tax cuts in our great, big, beautiful bill are saving hardworking families thousands and thousands of dollars, like with the provisions, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, along with the interest deduction on a loan used to purchase a car, but only if that car is made in America, and a 100% expensing for our job-creating businesses. Our stock markets are at their highest point in many years, but we can actually say of all time. and your 401ks, pensions, and retirement accounts are setting records every single day, the highest in history.
I don't know about that.
For years, we paid the highest price for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. Now we pay the lowest price under my most favored nation's policy, because I was able to get the rest of the world and the pharmaceutical companies to act responsibly. Drug prices are coming down by 70, 80, and 90%. TrumpRx.gov. This will ultimately reduce the cost of health care. You have to go to TrumpRx.gov and take advantage of it. But the cost of health care is coming way down because of what we've done with prescription drugs. And with Trump accounts, every child in America now has access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children so that at age 18, they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life. So for that, go to TrumpAccounts.gov and sign up your child or any child who'd like to sign up. Our previously wide open borders have been transformed into the most secure borders in the history of our country, with 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Nobody thought it was possible. We had the worst border in the history of our country, and now we have the best. Crime is plummeting nationwide, with the murder rate at its lowest level since 1900, or more than 125 years ago. We're making a record investment in our armed forces, and we have the strongest and most powerful military by far anywhere in the world. I built it during my first term, and unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well, but we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action to protect the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure. One where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard. Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes, and really exposes like levels never thought possible, the hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you. The American people are beautiful, are great American people, but that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings. We are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out.
After we watch this,
Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken confidence in elections, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. And that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people, in many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country. A standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my first administration and our 2020 campaign. They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win, and for good reason. As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president's votes and make him resign or prevent his re-election. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job, and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, the strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them, charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs, and built the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. These are exact quotes from the CIA reporting. The name of the person doing the, quote, is now under review, but it gets even worse. Raw intelligence obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press. Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceived the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags information, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that were supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems. Dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. That's unquote, but that's some statement, isn't it, made by supposedly great patriots of our country. The document goes on to further state that, quote, we assess that centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and other official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use this access to these systems to disrupt election processes within the United States of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings, and spanning from January 2020 to June 2026. This is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela. And that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of documents reveals that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures tonight are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon. And we're so concerned by what they found. They were just so concerned. They couldn't believe it, actually, that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believed that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it. Tonight, I'm asking the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking, manipulation, and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active in the voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. It took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for multi-billion-dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, really, we should be together, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody, and it should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. We should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up. We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo, voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo, voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watch California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would have no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together, we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Well, let's figure that. I'll say that was very interesting. I'll say the least. Yeah, I don't know really to figure that. To be honest with you, I still think it's just like kind of crazy. Like, dude, he literally won by a bigger margin in 2024. He won every single thing in 2023. He won the popular votes. He had more electoral votes than he did in our two elections, and it's just like, let me go, bro. You won this time. It's like, I still don't know why he's so fucking fixated over 2020. like I said, the reason why he lost in 2020 was because of COVID. I didn't think he handled COVID that great. Like, COVID was basically just like a fucking death trap. Like, it's just, it was like, it's like a brand new pandemic. People were trying to figure out how to respond to it. But the messaging was, like very bad. You shouldn't have shut the country down. You're going to piss a lot of people off trapped in their houses for almost a year, and they were able to work. And a lot of people, like my dad, was laid off. Like during COVID, a lot of people, were like laid off too. They weren't able to work for like a year or how long it took. People were able to go outside, or like get out to like do things. People, weren't getting on vacations as much. Because like because different like states had different restrictions than like other states. So it also was just some of the comments he made about COVID too, kind of like pissed people off. He was like constantly like the messaging with the mask, social distancing, and all that stuff. And also how he handled the BLM riots weren't very good when the state chef like falling off at that church, the Bible, just kind of weird. He didn't have the National Guard when Minneapolis was on fire, and that entire suburb was just full of like looting people, destroying buildings and destroying property, cops. And he didn't do well in debates. Like the first debate with Biden was absolute fucking disaster. So there's a reason why. Like I said, if COVID didn't happen, he would have won in 2020 because the economy was good, inflation was low, prices were cheap. We were, there wasn't any new wars going on. The border was like safe. So he would have won in 2020, if COVID didn't happen. He just needs to let it go. Like my opinion. It's hard for me to like also really kind of believe because they brought up like a lot of these like cases up to the state supreme courts like in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and all kind of like tossed because there wasn't any evidence. Even his own Attorney General Bill Barr. Yeah, it's Bill Barr. Yeah, Bill Barr. Said it wasn't really any evidence. So, I don't know, man. It's just the whole thing. It's like kind of insane. If China like really, like rigged the election, why the fuck would we be friendly with Xi Jinping then? Seriously, why are we so friendly towards China and Xi Jinping if you think they fucking rigged the election for you, dude? It's just like, I don't know, man. It's just fucking crazy, to be honest with you. Like I said, I still agree with you. The safe action, should be passed. I think everybody should have like a phone ID to go phony proof of citizenship is, pretty fucking obvious. I'm like I don't hate like mail-in ballots. I think mail-in ballots should only be for people that are like in the military, right? Or like deployed to like different countries. If like someone's like in the military, but they're like in like South Korea and they want to vote, they can do with mail-in ballot. That's fine. And also, like if someone's like terminally ill, right? Or it's like basically bedridden, can't leave their house. Like let's vote mail-in ballot. So I think if you're able to like drive to work, able to get out, move around, you should like vote in person. Because there's plenty of places to go vote. There's like a bunch of places, not just like one place. Like there's like they don't have like voting like in churches, like schools, other places like that, city hall and stuff like that. So that's in my opinion. I think it's just extraction. Like how it's like basically distraction, with like the Iran war not going as well as we planned. It's also like a distraction, for like like the midterms because they're going to get clobbered in the midterms because they haven't fixed the economy. We're in a war with Iran. It's been a disaster. Healthcare is like still expensive. they kind of backtrack on the deportations. There's been like a lot of controversy with ICE, some people's administration have been fired. So, and also the Republicans haven't done a good job of passing any kind of legislation either. So that's just like my opinion. Alright, I guess we go look at the files of this like photo fraud. So it's on the White House on the White House website. So we're gonna go look at it. Okay, I can look at it right now. Sweet. Alright, chat. This bullshit off. Dude, don't make me fucking just let me fucking. So let me get out of this. Alright, we're on the White House page. Okay, we're on the White House page. It's good. Alright, let's go look at election integrity. Ensuring the integrity of our elections is fundamental to conserve trust in American democracy. Following the 2020 presidential election, the concerns about potential irregularities, promoting detailed examinations of voting process, state security, and registration practices across multiple states. Below, you can download the documents. Bro, I have to fucking download the fucking documents, man. Holy fucking Christ. Jesus. Why the fuck do I have to download? Just like, sorry, chat, to fucking download it. Oh my fucking God. They ain't push the ball nowhere down the field. He runs his springs now routes and hitches. Dude, this is fucking retarded. Out of the talent that you have on the offensive side of the football. Defensively, nice, I can't even open it. Soft corner, didn't sink on the cover three, tied in, ran down the field. Guess I'm like, no. I don't know, just guess over on this shit. Chad, this is so stupid. Bro, dude, they're so gay, man. I have to fucking download it. What the fuck? God, this fucking administration, man, they're so fucking stupid. Why do you have to fucking download it? Why can't I just actually just look at it like a normal fucking thing? Why just link it? God, they're so stupid. This fucking administration, man. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
This defense holding a team another 15. It's too late. How long?
Dude. I don't know, I might have to like just give me a second, chat. This is fucking ridiculous. Honestly, right? White House documents release. See if I can just do this. Never mind.
But right now, with all that's going on, you're sitting here.
See if I can just. Might just have to like look at it on Axe. Because sorry, I tried to like download it and it wasn't downloading it right. See if this accounts like got it. I might have to like look up. Documents. Yeah, Benny Johnson. I like Benny Johnson. Let's see if. Okay. All right. This one's redacted. Fuck. It's hard to read this one. Flores Nikki gets his FBI agent. We'll push out notes today to all FOS that all election related IRs must come through FITFHQ. This is fucking redacted. I'm basically running shadow government across the FBI at this point. Nikki Flores, named intelligence analyst, Chicago, charged with the intelligence division of Washington field office. Director Christopher Reyes named Nikki Flores as the intelligence analyst in charge of the intelligence division of Washington field office. Mrs. Flores most recently served as a deputy assistant director to counterintelligence division at the FBI headquarters in D.C. Mrs. Flores, that's not important. Trump's FBI classified documents government exposes Michigan dirty voting rolls. Michigan dirty voting rolls were all laid bare in the White House. They classified these documents, stuffed the copy of President Trump's national address on security on Thursday. Among the documents was evidence that the campers in Michigan submitted 8,000 of the 10,000 fatality or faulty voter registrations ahead of the 2020 election. Databases checks returned no results. Signature mismatches. Payments made to campers to reduce fake or faulty voter registrations. Social Security numbers made to fill out voter registration forms. Michigan officials forwarded 2020 investigation documents supplied by individual and must go on to the FBI. In October 2020, the Michigan State Police instantly disclosed their investigation into irregularities in voter registration forms within Moscow. The Michigan Attorney General's office emphasized that attempted fraud was detected for election day, and consequently these applicants were not incorporated into the state's voter list. However, some Democrats were alarmed by investigators seeking to far into the activities of the radical campers. Democrat State Rep-elect Abraham Assia even friendly children of Wayne County Board of Canvassers member Monica Palmer over race and election concerns. I want you to think about this for your kids. You probably go to redacted, he said. Secretary of State Josh Lou Benson has refused the Trump DOJ's demands of unredacted statewide voter rolls, including DOB, DL numbers, and partial SNS. Provide only a public version. She cites city, states, federal privacy laws protect against identity theft. The DOJ sued the NVRA in the HAVA, a Civil Rights Act, for listening to this conference. Benson has been a fierce opponent of voting integrity and election transparency efforts rolling off, and she is now going to be Michigan's governor. The Department of Justice is in litigation with 30 states and the District of Columbia in a legal battle to claim the state's voter rolls. Just give me a second.
I'm talking about using him to run.
President Trump announced that as a national address, there are at least 203,000 non-citizens on Americans federal rolls. Trump called on Congress to pass the Save America Act. Or this is the document. I get so annoyed. They literally did this with the Epstein files. Remember when they released like some of the Epstein files? Half of it was like fucking redacted. So give me bear with me, guys. I can't even read them. I have to prove this closely. In fall of 2020, who was not? I can't even read that. I can't read that. God damn it! How the fuck? Shit, I can't read that. The saddle of time and went to on, and people were standing outside outside of an office next door. I can't fucking read that. I'm sorry. I can't. It's like it's hard to read it when it's fucking redacted like that.
But you know what's nice about this baby, me being the baby? I've got a little cocktail here. I've enjoyed it.
Shit.
Fantastic. Everyone knows baby.
If she wanted a job, the office was previously eyeglasses store. Went into the office and applied for job registration. People to vote. Was hired the following day. The office was run by a tall, thin white with redacted, whatever the fuck it is, and was office previously lived at redacted and later worked at the same office but were not working there when redacted was fired. Job was to stand outside of the business, asking people if they wanted to register to vote. There were over 100 people doing the same job, and in the Michigan area, these employees were paid upon now many completed. She was paid for registration. The white male told employees that the organization was huge and had operations in other states. He also said employees who did the best meetings turning in the most voter registration applications could travel to the other states to work and also drive employees to their locations and collect their registration application themselves. Once employees executed a search warrant at the office, the employees were told their jobs. This assignment was over. Was shown to Canvasser contract Sanchez confirmed that she had filled out both of them. Both of these forms was shown 22 completed voter registration applications attached. Chad, I can't even really, I don't know really what to say because half of it is fucking redacted. So why the fuck are you redacted with half of this shit? So I can't really make up my mind. I guess there was like a person like working at a poll at one of the polling in Michigan, I guess. That's, I don't know, man. Half of it's fucking redacted. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. The whole thing is just so fucking dumb. They don't know how to redact shit. Is there another one? Okay, there's another one. I just can't really fucking do. It's just whoever took a picture is just stupid. It's so blurry too. Alright, this is from October 29th of 2020. So it's like a week before the election. tip list. Alleged fraudulent voter registration being submitted to the Muscatine City Clerk's office. I guess it's like in Michigan, I guess. A resident of redacted also had delivered numerous applications with similar red flags. MCPD estimates submitted approximately 8 to 10,000 applicants, of which widespread number of appear fraudulent. They fucking redacted this. They redacted half the fucking word. I guess misinformed investigations. I should have guessed. She works for redacted and was paid for voter registration work. She was involved in similar registration deliveries in Detroit. This was in Michigan. Wallace, Suffield, Flint, and Ransom. Open source search revealed a candidate in the 2018 Georgia District Congressional election paid, I guess, 52,000 for a field consultant and Professor Bateman said his sentinel search revealed positive results for related to restricted cases. In 56th Street, the local and state local forces agency will continue their active investigations and will likely wait over action like search warrant this week on October 5th, 2020. The MCD in Muscatine, Michigan, began receiving the state of Michigan voter registration applicants via mail in total 6 packages. The applicants appear to be fraudulent based on non-existent addresses, invalid phone numbers, mismatch signatures when compared to Michigan Secretary of State records, and multiple applications appear to have the same handwritten signatures. The package were marked and had 2 return addresses. Addresses is a Staybridge Street, and the addresses is a single family residence. On October 8, 2020, turned in multiple voter applications at the MCCO. An employee at the MCCO, aware of the suspicious applications, also advised she works for, it was unaware that applications were mailed. I would say that's kind of interesting, to be honest with you. I just don't like how they redact half of this, so it just kind of feels like it makes it hard to kind of read it when half it's like blurry and it's a lot of this stuff's like redacted. So if this is true, right? If they, if just part of me is like, I don't know, man. It's just like, I don't know, dude, to be honest with you. If this is actually true, right? If there's actual, truth to this, tonight, I think the person who was doing it, right, if this is true, should go to jail, obviously. But they're not going to go after these people. They constantly bitch about it, right? They're never going to go after these fucking people. So it's just, I don't know, man. I really don't know, bro.
And what that tells us is you, Miss Monica Palmer from Grove, which has a history of racism, are deciding to enable and continue to perpetuate the racist history of this country. And I want you to think about what that means for your kids. You probably go to And when they see all their black classmates and they see
I don't know what that is. There's more pressing trouble. Newly discussed fake document show voter registration system under siege. Foreign hackers enable election manipulation. Russian actors hacked voter databases in multiple states. 2016. It's funny we were talking about Russian manipulation in 2016. They stole names, addresses, birthdates, and social security numbers from hundreds of thousands. Georgia exposed nearly 7 million voter records per month. A New Hampshire offender had a risky Russian server links. Chinese and Iranian hackers targeted voter systems to steal Russian attacks disrupted election sites. Stolen data let attackers request absentee ballots at the scale. Even years later, hackers can still can alter addresses, party info. Oh shit! God, I fucked something up. God damn it! Give me something. Give me a minute. I fucked something up on my phone. Just give me a second, chat. Sorry, guys. Fucking retarded.
Wait, you don't write anything down on conversation?
Sorry, I fucked something up. Oh, it's on the phone.
myself.
Just give me a sec. Almost done. Fuck. I keep fucking up. Sorry. Alright, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Massive PI breaches equal effects background verbs insurers flood the dark web with voter verification data. Let's go read the documents. God, I can't read that. Now I gotta put my glasses on. Sorry, guys. I don't like. I haven't worn my glasses in a little bit, so I have to put on my glasses to read this. After I read some of these documents, I'll take them off. You guys like my glasses, by the way. I've been wearing this for a little while now. History of voter registration system breaches. Google examples on classified breaches of voter registration databases in the last 10 years. Russian government cyber actors attempt to identify and exploit SQL databases, vulnerabilities in web services and databases. The FBI reported that they lack insight into the extent to which, while the attempts were successful, however, in at least 2 separate incidents, Russian actors accused voter registration files from a U.S. county website June 2016. The district attorney in Riverside County, California, revealed that a bad actor revealed that a bad actor used the state's voter registration website to change the party location of a large number of registered voters. The individual made the changes by letting access to voters and personal information, name and date of birth, and driver's license and social security numbers. To make the change without the voters' knowledge, focused on July 2016, says before the 2016 election. So a lot of this is actually what happened during the 2016 election. Russian actors hacked the website of state board election and stole information related to the approximately 500,000 voters, including names and addresses, social security numbers, and date of birth and driver's license numbers in July 2016. Russian actors hacked into the company's U.S. vendor that supplied software used to verify voter registration information in August of 2016. DHS and the FBI confirmed that Russian actors conducted election system recall systems to identify vulnerable databases, usernames and passwords, and web pages of state and local governments, improve voter registration and database in all 50 states. They could not confirm how many of these prompts resulted in successful breaches. In January 2017, White House officials reported to the federal assessment was that networks in the last 7 states were compromised in 2016. Arizona experienced a breach, and the Illinois State Board of Elections announced that attackers had gained access to voter registration data, including names and addresses, birth dates, and partial Social Security numbers in 2016. Kyushu State University, which was responsible for supporting Georgia voter registration database, was found to expose nearly 7 million voter records, including driver's license, social security numbers, and registered voters. They may have exposed for a key as long as 7 months in March 2017. Chinese state-sponsored cyber actors aggressively target U.S. critical infrastructure to steal website data and personally identifiable information in August of 2021. Okay, it's from August of 2021. CIS and the FBI reported numbers of Iranian Republic Guard Corps attempted to exploit websites to obtain voter registration. They confirmed that the actors successfully obtained voter registration data in at least one state. They could not determine if the attempts were successful in the other 11 states targeted in September 2020. Pro-Russian activists claim to have conducted a distributed denial of service attack who sought temporary restricted access to a public-facing U.S. state election office website in 2022. Suspected Chinese cyber actors scanned both election and related in non-election state government websites under PRC. Cyber actors also collected publicly available U.S. Information in 2022. New Hampshire election officials discovered that vendors selected to replace the state's agent voter registration database that offshore part of the project. The software had been converted to next servers in Russia, and a programmer had hard-coded the Ukrainian national anthem to the database. These features were purchased prior to the deployment in 2023. State and local election officials must prioritize enhanced defenses to protect voter registration databases into limited ways that compromised data can be exploited. Implemented and maintaining safeguards to prevent bad actors from using stolen data successfully obtained absentee ballots and voter registration information or add delete registration or essential for protection of the electoral process. With the potential impact of voter registration databases breaches. Again, minimize these exploitations could have a serious consequences for the administration of elections. The impact of these breaches is not limited to underlying comments or spread false claims, but the data itself can use months or years after the breach to enter voter registration information or request absentee ballots. The real threat is what we've done with stolen data. In nearly every electoral jurisdiction, the information required to apply and receive an absentee ballot is stored. The voter registration database, and a breach can allow bad actors to access public information such as a name, date of birth, and address, and sensitive information like driver's license number, full or partial social security numbers, and voter signatures on file. That information can enable bad actors to request absentee ballots. A scale for low procenty voter data obtained in a breach was visible. For example, could use to request a ballot for the election in 2018, 2028. Okay, can be used not against them. Alright, this is some important, you guys like more important stuff right here. It's kind of a little long, sorry. But over the last decade, millions of Americans have had their personality and identifiable information leaked in data breaches that are related to voter registration but compromise election security. FinTech, cyber criminals have gained more access to databases belonging to financial institutions and healthcare providers and other government agencies obtaining PI, including social security numbers, address and full names, and date of birth and driver's license numbers. In many cases, this information is sold on the dark web, where it is easily accessible to malicious actors because much of this same data is used to verify voter eligibility, maintain voter rolls, and verify identity for absentee ballot requests, large-scale bill exposure of data held by private companies and implications not only for privacy and financial fraud, but its integrity of U.S. elections. In July 2017, a credit reporting firm discovered a data breach that affected the potential of 143 million United States citizens, among half of the population. The breach reportedly began in May of 2017, and now it's nearly 4 months later. By exploiting an unpatched vulnerability.
Paying Experian has no data decline. They match me with cards that won't pay my credit if I don't get approved.
She has a tremendous following, kind of a cult following of sorts. So it could go either way, but I don't think it'll be a distraction to a guy like that.
Alright, so the last guys, unpatched vulnerability in the web application software, cyber attackers were able to steal an unprecedented amount of PI, including social security number, date of birth, home address, driver's license number, and full names. On February 10, 2020, the DOJ indicted 4 members of China's People's Liberation Army on counts of economic espionage, wire fraud, and computer fraud, and the stated felony indictment. Attorney General William Barr said that the back fits as disturbing and unacceptable pattern of state-sponsored computer instructions and fees by China and its citizens that target personality and identical information, trade secrets, and other confidential information. In April of 2024, a background check firm that stored troves of records, including full names and current past addresses, social security numbers, and date of birth, and the telephone numbers suffered a personal data breach of 2.9 billion records containing PI, to 7 million officials. The information was reportedly founded on the dark web, offering for $3.5 million. One of the largest supplemental insurance providers in the United States suffered a data breach in June of 2025 that affected 69 million officials. Information accused by hackers included PI such as social security numbers, date of birth, driver's license, and full names. Hackers gain access to fire systems and social engineering tactics, invasion, whaling, and impersonation. Report from the University of Oxford found that Russia and China ranked first and third respectively as nations that pose the highest threat of cybercrime. Moreover, the PI available to these adversaries is not limited to the accused through their own cyber operations, but can legally purchase or accuse on the dark web. These cases mentioned above fall breaches that contain information typically needed for voter registration, absentee ballots, applications. The threat is exposed data poses the integrity of the U.S. elections. It's significant and undergoing the need to recognize and mitigate the direct risk it poses to critical election infrastructure. Wow. Man, that was a lot of reading, man. Wow. That was a lot to read. That was some very interesting shit. So I guess there was like Chinese hackers that were indicted back in 2020 trying to breach people's personal information. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. We need to do a better job of stopping China and Russia and hacking our personal information. We need to have better fucking just VPNs in general. So yeah, that's very, very fucking insane. Reading some of the well, fuck. Why post something if basically most of it can be blacked out, man? According to the presidential daily brief, China attempted to blackmail a Trump administration official claiming to derogatory information on him and efforts. Was this guy in the Epstein files? Was he in the Epstein files? Someone posted Jeffrey Epstein. Someone posted Chinese Jeffrey Epstein. Can someone explain what the black bars made? Or else I'll respond to this guy. This means that if there is confidential information, they have shit. They have to read that. So, what's funny, someone posted a fucking AI Chinese Jeffrey Epstein. Zero proof. King can lead follows the open acre monkeys, now the true desert, true republic. Yeah, it's all this a lot of stuff that I don't know. A lot of this stuff is like true or not. To be honest with you, it's just like crazy shit. To be honest with you, I don't know, man. I don't know really what to think. To be honest with you. Let's go read what's this. To put my glass back on. Warned a White House official that Beijing had derogatory information on him in an effort to compel him to make a restrained approach to China. China attempted to use blackmail against a U.S. administration official, revealed the information through the social media. We access that feed. This threat is credible. Lower-level Chinese official have recommended collecting using data, using black materials against perceived anti-China. U.S. officials said Solution on the 2019 this the most detailed and effective effort to recommend that we've seen. That I don't know. It's hard to read that one. Was this guy involved with Jeffrey Epstein? Was he involved in like insider trading? So I don't know what this guy was fucking doing, to be honest with you. So, but you know, like China or like like Russia's got like a bunch of like blackmail, like probably on Donald Trump or something like that. So I don't know, a lot of this stuff is kind of crazy to really kind of like look at. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, I can really explain it. I don't know if any of this shit's true or not. I don't know. I want to believe it, but I don't know. I just can't. Like, part of me just can't fully believe this. I don't know. Okay, this is just fucking Benny Johnson shit. China produced fake U.S. driver's license to manufacture tens of thousands of mail-in votes in 2020. Now we must push the vote by mail to change the laws to Benny Johnson and stuff. Country of non-state anti-United States / China. Subject Chinese government production and export of fraudulent U.S. driver's license to Chinese sympathizers in the United States in order to create tens of thousands of fraudulent mail-in votes for the U.S. presidential candidate Joe Biden in late August of 2020.
Here we go. Those are not very useful links. They're more cosmetic. They're more to flex on people. They're more for flexing than flying.
Newly classified documents expose China's massive 2020 election interference, plot to sabotage Trump and divide America. This classified counsel to the president warned on July 10th, 2026. These sensitive government agency documents reveal China's extensive cyber influence operation at the 2020 election. Banshee aimed to exploit U.S. societal fissures, sway public opinions against the Trump administration, and undermine American unity through social media, encouraging violent demonstrations and looting to hide social unrest. Intensifying disapproval of the president questions his fitness to govern line precision effects of COVID-19 response. Alright, some more of these documents. I'm gonna put my glasses on. Sorry, so I can kind of read this. This is very small print. Summary: ahead of the 2020 presidential election, China had extensive plans to utilize potential and cyber operations to sway public opinion against the Trump administration and the essential opinion against the U.S. government that the China plans were to design to exploit U.S. societal fissures and vulnerabilities to influence U.S. and other audiences. And by shit, I can't fucking read that. Certain U.S. government decides to make any plans address several scenarios, including military conflicts between U.S. and China, as well as a psychological crisis. The opera's themes cover a broad range of topics to exploit what China received to be U.S. fissures and fumbles. Received the untold clue. Fucking dude, I can't read half of this shit. Gun something and immigration policies. Facilitating migrant community. This allegations within the USG. Oh my god, I can't even read half of this shit. I'm sorry. It's like, God. Dude, it's so fucking small print, man. They fucking highlight over it, dude. It's just like, fuck.
I'm not gonna lie to you. This might
this is basically just the same.
I would need some more time for testing, but it's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Pretty good, or is it looking like?
Okay, I need to go back.
Like our lives will never be the same. Well, I have to test on something better. I gotta test on something better for sure.
Racial tensions. Those are the racial tensions allege that white people hate black people. Inside that demonstrating murders as evidence of racial divide, increase the level of conflict between police and racism activities, and feeding any sense that U.S. law enforcement fuck dude, I can't read this shit. Recess USG and people of color USG with the U.S. military pulled party disagreements going to Congress, the Trump administration, compromise the Trump administration, women's rights, and U.S. South China Sea policies allege U.S. war asperities implement intentional propaganda. Sorry, Chad. I'm having a very hard time reading this. It's like it's very small print. Then these dumb fucks, which is highly over the small print, makes it hard for me to fucking read it. It's so fucking stupid. China has developed capabilities to project themes on these topics into social media, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and others, as well as mainstream media for a variety of native influencers and media contributors. One of the options include gathering information on senior U.S. government officials and political opinions officials. The article tries to see what else economic implications, encouraging violent demonstrations and looting to increase the influence of social unrest, satisfying the American people, the President of the United States calling into questions its ability to gather and overall undermining the legitimacy and public support of the President of the United States. COVID's response increasing public dissatisfaction with the president and the unexplained question his fitness to govern on his public options. It was really hard for me to read half of that shit. So they're basically saying that they're trying to force people to like, propaganda to encourage like looting, basically saying, white people hate black people, saying like Trump doesn't fit for office, basically. But it's really hard to read half that shit. Alright, new Translate document show that NASA deliberately covered up mentions of attempts by China to interfere in the 2020 election and excluded reports from President Trump's presidential daily brief. Okay. Has all has heard received nothing based on Trump. The delivery signed are one pending PDP to fully regulate the election. The massive report we happened late on has been chopped up into 13 reports that likely will not get out until next week. Many of them crossing posted into redacted or down to redacted so that can't be regularly incorporated into 45 days. This is all redacted. This is what's called the fucking Epstein files. I think I mentioned to you before that there's some pending that makes it clear China has been caught conducting election interference, election influence. At least that's how it was described to us. It's redacted, so it's redacted for some reason. But as you scroll to note that NASA is or one pending PDB, to film any direct links to this election, to the election. While this is important for your time, I'm sure it is also potential to be a near issue we need to draw attention. This is a really big single by far from the only one of what I've been raising since the summer that the IC is deliberately before you mention a connection to your elections for substantive reasons. Obviously, since the redacted is released yet, we're holding it until next week. There is an PDB, so maybe it won't end up being an issue, but this is highly regular in ways to things, especially as someone trying to raise trade craft and substantive objections to the main line in our work It's very interesting. Will they go after people if this is true? No, they will not. I still think it's self-fulfilling wolf, but if that is the case, it's pretty crazy that NASA would do something like this. But hopefully that's not true. I really hope that's not true. I don't know how many more are we getting? All right, this is how many more are we looking at? Don't worry, guys. We're still gonna finish the Shady Fans Rogan episode. I don't know if I have time to do it in the Fox News videos. I might stream a little bit more, guys. DHS reports of potential 3,000 non-citizens are illegally registered to vote in just 4 states for which public data files have been received. This is a document from the Homeland Security from the DHS. Sorry, anybody like last week see these documents. National Security Investigations, the Department of Homeland Security has detailed multiple investigations related to the allegations of non-citizen voting registration here. of the first set of public files, voter files from states that have not utilized the same system in the field. The procedure to be found that non-citizens are legally registered to vote, and just the 4 states for which public data files have been reviewed. State election officials in California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Nevada have been notified of the serious threat to national security in as stands ready to support their efforts to identify and remove ineligible registrants. The investigation is expanded to include multiple additional states. In addition, DHS will support the Department of Justice review of voter files obtained pursuits to their enforcement authority under the National Voters Registration Act of 1993 and help the Americans Vote Act of 2002. States that protect federal elections, members, protective and conscientious state officials have successfully utilized free services offered by the Department of Homeland Security to assist election officials in identifying non-citizens who have registered and or voted in the interstates. In the short time that advanced safe system has been available to states, 10 have stage process their full voter list as of June 2026. A total of 25 different states processed more than 68 million registration records through the same system. DHS has enabled those states to serve. It's a final 400,000 seats for registrants and 28,000 non-citizens who are illegally registered to vote. A demonstration by the same data to the right, the states are seriously about ensuring that only U.S. citizens vote in the U.S. elections. DHS applauds their efforts to prevent non-citizens from registering and to remove ineligible registrants who are unlawfully registered. Several other proactive state officials have also signed memoranda of agreements with USCIS to utilize the SAFE system and have processed their state voter rolls. Unfortunately, due to the action of the activist judge, Sparkle Such Mun, many of these enchantments to the service of USCIS have been suspended pending appeal, and businesses are at risk of having their votes deleted by ineligible alien voters. There is undeniable power emerging as DHS begins to unravel the horrific damage done by open door policies of the Biden administration. States that have open alien first policies and set regular policies have disproportionate numbers of non-citizens on the voter rolls. The progress say new states. Georgia, 42,000 people, non-citizens 2,549. Ohio, 59,774. And Ohio, 669. Tennessee, 37,150. Then 1,009 in Tennessee, non-citizen. In Texas, 1,100,000, and 5% deceased, and 2,296 non-citizen. North Carolina, 34,622, then deceased, and non-citizen 590. Idaho, 43, 28 and 49 non-citizen in Idaho. Alabama, 33,165 deceased, and 465 non-citizen. Missouri, 10,660. Then deceased and non-citizen, 1,112. Then Louisiana, deceased, 15,631. Then 419 non-citizen. Kansas, 10,197. Then Georgia, 49 cities.
I do. I think that you can be a lot more aggressive with them. Like they don't handle.
I hope that I don't know if that's fully true or not. But if that I don't know the really bank. I hope this is not true, by the way. Just saying, I hope it's not. If that is, that's what you're saying. But I don't know. I'm still kind of skeptical. To be honest with you, I don't know. Well, I really don't know, to be honest. And besides, he's getting accused of, being like a propagandist. He does suck up to the administration. He's been paid by Russia, I think. So it's just hardly to believe this guy. But Williams don't look at this guy. He's posting a lot of these. So President Trump newly disclassified election documents show that Venezuela had compromised election infrastructure dating back to 2004. Intelligence Committee report from 2004 to 2020 documented percentage concerns about Venezuelan government manipulation of electronic voting systems and the potential national security implications for U.S. election infrastructures. The intelligence established that the Venezuelan government officials have sustained interest in likely some capability to manipulate electronic voting systems, including smartmatic technology to influence electoral outcomes in Venezuela. There's somewhere to select intelligence report from 2004 to 2020 on Venezuela electronic voting manipulation capabilities. God, this one's fucking small. I think I have my glasses on. The Intelligence Committee report from 2004 to 2020 document presents concerns about Venezuelan government manipulation of electronic voting systems and potentially national security implications for U.S. election infrastructure. The intelligence established that Venezuelan government officials developed sustained interest, likely some capability to manipulate electronic voting systems, including smartmatic technology to influence electoral outcomes in Venezuela. In 2006, the Intelligence Committee assessment 2006 was based on solid intelligence regarding Venezuelan government intent to influence U.S. policies and evidence of Venezuelan manipulation of their own electoral systems. This assessment to U.S. government actions forcing smartmatic to divest in U.S. operations in 2007. Report indicated that electronic voting form complaint list that includes theocratic exploited by actors with insider crossover while the intelligence vindicated significant concerns about forward-link voting technology vendors. It did not definitely confirm that large-scale electronic fraud was successfully executed in specific Venezuelan Fuck, I can't remember what that. Shit. Oh, like shit, with CIA baseline assessments were taken that other factors better explained electoral outcomes. They report on advanced techniques, provide concerted insights, and alleged Venezuelan government capabilities. And the 10th thought came from limited sources.
But unfairness can't be. And what I would do
Assessment of the Smartmatic
I would round all these people up and I'd say, pick a number between 1 and 10.
acquisition of the U.S. voting system company Secura pose a moderate threat to U.S. national security. Prior to Venezuela's 2012 presidential election, reported that Chavez's intelligence services, including the General Directorate of Military Counterintelligence and Bulgarian Intelligence Service, worked with the National Electoral Council and SORMAC to develop plans to manipulate election results using programs. Voting machines report that these plans call for deploying altered machines. Sorry, this print's so small. Altered machines to approximately 300 voting sensors. If I say cancer for a minute, seriously, I actually legit thought it said fucking cancer for a minute. It's good traditional pro Chavez areas to ensure victory by approximately 1.5 million votes. Following the election, which Chavez won by approximately 1.6 million votes, sources report that Chavez congratulated his team for successfully implementing the manipulation plan. In September 2020, reported that Venezuela had developed detailed technical plans to manipulate the December 2020 National Assembly elections using what were, according to this report, the technique involving creating a second set of virtual machines that would replicate legitimate voting machines. Results that substitute manipulated data while making votes appear to originate from legitimate machines. CIA analysts assessed in 2006 that certain capabilities regarding electronic voting manipulation were technically possible and operationally feasible. Specifically, that voting machines in Venezuela have specific artificial intelligence components installed with assigned to alter votes tallies, I think is what it's saying, could detect when they were being audited and could provide printed receipts without registering in court or transmitting these folders, while CIA analysts judged these capabilities would be correctly achievable. This assessment focused on technical feasibility rather than confirmation that such as features were actively implemented. A 2013 CIA alternative analyst produced using the devil's advocacy methodology outlined a plausible scenario for how large scale electronic manipulation parameters in the Venezuela's 2012 election. Without detection, this analysis noted that Venezuela's electronic voting system was vulnerable to insider access to centralized nature of one control over voting technology and gaps in opposition monitoring capabilities. The report assessed that such a manipulation occurred elections in Venezuela in other countries that are clients of the technology provider could be in doubt. However, CIA's baseline assessment maintained that no large-scale electronic fraud occurred in 2012 based on pre-election polling data. Observers of irregular voting patterns and opposition concessions. Intelligence reporting consistently indicated that individuals were tied to Venezuelan intelligence services had access to election technology and vote system in 2012. Sources reported that Chavez had signed an army communication specialist to the CN to provide real-time access to election results. The report from 2012 also indicated that the one information technology director described as confident of the head of the military intelligence with expertise in voting technology was reasonable for deciding protocols for auditing voting software. These relationships provide potential pathways for the manipulation of electronic voting systems. Okay, what's redacted? The September 2020 intelligence report plans to provide the most detailed description of specific technical approach to election manipulation technique was alleged designed to replicate digital bash files sent to the central fund accounting database. Mimic real voting machines in favor of the ruling party. Otherwise, the ASHA files of voting machines that favor the opposition and make altered votes appear to originate from legitimate voting machines. The technique was, in theory, allowing the Venezuelan government to monitor and judge results in real time, centered the election. The report indicated that virtual machine technology would employed to accomplish this, manipulate invading detections for standard audit procedures. The 2006 security threat assessment produced by the National Intelligence. The council evaluated as SmartMag acquisition of Sequoia voting systems as a moderate overall threat to U.S. national security interests. This assessment was based on several factors. Intelligence indicated that Chavez intended to influence the U.S. domestic politics and public opinion. Reported that Venezuelan government manipulated Venezuelan national elections for SmartMag direct involvement. The intelligence that SmartMag directors, held credentials from Venezuelan intelligence services. Give me 1 second. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of fucking reading, man. Good God, we're eventually gonna get to the JD fans. Finish the JD fans, interview with Rogan, I promise, man. There's just so much of this shit. Holy fuck. God, why is there so much? Jesus, it's like so much shit. Oh my God, this is like so fucking much. Oh, my head's hurting from all this.
From a chef who dug through the garbage looking for a fish that didn't exist, to a chef who blamed 3 different teammates for
Alright,
the same chicken.
let's get back into it.
These are chefs who got caught on camera in Hell's Kitchen. Starting with 16's Gia, whose attempt to
Some Americans circulating reported contracts and grossly foreign trade U.S. Counties at the time. The assessment concluded that Storm Mag's suspected ability to the Venezuelan government manipulation make the acquisition a potential instrument from Venezuelan officials seeking to undermine confidence in our manipulation to manipulate the electoral processes in the United States. This finding led to pressure from the community on foreign investments in the United States. That resulted in Storm Mag's divested and its ownership was involved in 2007. In March of 2018, Storm Mag must cease operations in Venezuela after publicly accusing the Maduro regime of inflated voter turnout by over 1 million votes in 2017. National Constitution Assembly election figures that they purged from data recorded by these smart magnetic voting machines. These represented a break from Smart Mag between Smart Mag and the Venezuelan government after years of becoming refined electoral technology in Venezuela. Good God, is that much shit? And it's very interesting that we all know that Venezuela, does have free elections. There's a reason why Maduro was, in power for, for 12 years because he rigged the elections. He was not popular. People hated Maduro. He was an evil fucking monstrous dictator. That was sending drugs, through the fucking border, obviously. He was had the cartel down there. He was harming his own citizens. Also, that person treated him in Venezuela. So, I'm not surprised that Venezuela was rigging their own elections because also Maduro was unpopular. That's when, there's in 2018, that's when there's a presidential crisis in 2019 after Maduro basically ran a coup, against the Venezuelan in the Venezuelan government and stayed in power, even though he actually lost in 2019. And then he also, think he lost, in, I don't know if you guys, fact check me. He lost also in 2024, right? Is that true? You guys could, fact check me on that, because I could be wrong on that, but I think it was also in 2024, too. I'm not sure. I'm kind of just going off on that, so I could, I could be wrong on that. So, I don't know. See if there's any more. President Trump's new disclassified document showed major election fraud in 2020. Election administration lead judge that U.S. adversaries, including minimal Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise the U.S. election infrastructure for the 2020 election. Just give me a minute. Let me put something on.
That could be a championship team.
Good God, it's so much shit to look at, man. Jesus Christ. I'm trying to think of some other things. I'm trying to go finish the JD and Rogan interview. I want to go with some of the Iran stuff too, because there was some Iran stuff happening. we're still bombing Iran still, but I don't think we get I'll try my best to get to all of that. I might have to save that for tomorrow, to be honest with you. There's just I spend 2 hours reading this.
That I have ever watched unfold in my
entire political career
as Jesus Christ, man, how much I think over this is so much. Love you all night. Oh man, so I can't really assume this. I don't know if vulnerabilities in the 20 in the U.S. 2020 election infrastructure. I can't really read that one well. I'll be troubling my best. Okay. This scenario, with the potential impact of cyber operations against U.S. elective infrastructure for the 2020 presidential election, including U.S. Infrastructure. Sorry, this is really small print. Including the voting process of integrity of results. It does not as this adversary invasions of views of U.S. vulnerabilities. We assess that at least Russia, China, and Iran has the capability to access and potentially manipulate the data in the U.S. election relate to computer system. Jesus Christ, there's so much for looking at. Okay, we're pushing through, boys. We're pushing through, boys.
Many of whom kill more than one person.
Computer systems, but
gender for everybody.
Okay, let's go back. But we do not know whether they have specific plans to interfere with the function of these systems. We assess that controllers detect this potential data apparatus such as voter registration databases and poll books and official election websites are most vulnerable to exploration, and if all the adversaries could use access to these systems and disrupt election processes. Systems that turbulate and transmit or display election results are vulnerable to localized explanation, but would be difficult to manipulate on a wide enough scale to
hard to analyze because you cannot analyze things that just feel.
Dude, I can't. Is that even a real fucking word? To scale the election outcome. I don't know what the fuck that is. I can't.
Everyone just starts to lose their mind.
Adversary claims of manipulation would be difficult to disprove and could undermine public confidence in the election results. We judge that the U.S. adversaries include Russia, China, and Iran. Give me a second.
Prices are coming down by 70, 80%.
There's so much fucking work to U.S. election adversaries gained U.S. eletion related systems could damage the voting process and steal sensitive data and undermine confidence in the election results. But we do not know whether any of them have specific plans to manipulate election attendances in Russia almost containedly considered all U.S. state elective networks during the 2016 election cycle, accused election related election infrastructure at least two states. And at least two states, photo data from at least one, Russia, China, or North Korea, are all capable of conducting similar operations during the 2020 election cycle, judging from their nose cyber capabilities in the past operations. The availability of hypothesis, I can't really read that well. Hypothesis and computer networks, instructions on or attack tools on the desk or dark web gives additional countries and executive monster actors the potential capability to interfere in the election, judge these cyber criminals and manufacturers that could also target election infrastructure for financial or potential reasons based on permutation. Sorry, sometimes I'm really small print. That's why I kind of get this like swing. Also, Silver to get the picture was fucking terrible. I can barely read it. Attack cyber actor attempts to degrade, destroy, disrupt, and manipulate or otherwise hinder the operation of a system. System of on-network manipulation and illusion of detection of data solely to hide it. Intrusion is not considered an attack. A compromised cyber actor gains unauthorized to access to collect data or execute demands and installs malware to leak malicious internet protocol addresses. The malicious actor collects data. This is fucking goes off the term shit.
It feels like to where it is a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, this stuff's not important. So they're basically saying that like Russia, China, Iran, have been like hacking into our computer systems to sway the outcome of the election.
You can see these
more.
White House.
Wow, holy fuck, that was a lot of work. Is there any more? Jesus Christ, oh my god, that was a lot to read.
Bro, declassify anything.
Jesus Christ, I've been talking about this for 2 hours. I was originally going to talk about fucking Iran. We are still going to watch the Joe Rogan interview. I don't know how many more of these like files I'm going to read. I've read probably like 20. I've read through a lot, man. I've kind of lost track. FBI opened a 2021 investigation into 8,000 and 10,000 alleged fraudulent voter registrations from the 2020 election in Michigan. I already read this. Shoot me a second, yeah, I've already read that. I've already read all that. This guy's got more than you can. Joe Biden won Michigan 154 pounds if 188 votes. Michigan reportedly 156 votes answered for 9 duplicate registration. So Trump lost that Michigan by 3%. I can't really see that really well. Very look at this one. Oh, I looked at this one, yeah. Declassified documents that of a People's Republic of China state sponsored actor got like voter registration data from 6 states, including Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Rhode Island. The data includes names of addresses and party applications and email and phone numbers from records dating back to 2013. So substantive efficient network defense notice public available U.S. voter registration and information for 6 U.S. states download from the commercial websites by PRC, one actor in January of 2022. The same actor attempts to download an Ohio voter registration card. I'm going to put my glass on back for this. This is a revised copy of the state of Oklahoma has been added. In addition, the websites hosting the voter registration records are commercial websites, and that has fact been clarified in the report's claim release. The original report from all moral and computer files publicly available U.S. voter registration information for 6 states was downloaded by PRC, one actor. Of January 14th of 2022.
Was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make use of
Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Michigan, and Rhode Island voter registration information from U.S. commercial websites and U.S. IP addresses. In addition, the Ohio voter registration application was also an interest of one actor, but has failed to download. Voter registration information. Just give me a second. I keep doing this.
And so Brett Favre, I thought was a face of the league for a long time. He won one Super Bowl. So I think one rightly last year was the number 1 player by NFL.
Voter registration information, at least from at least 2013 through 2021, was probably filled with download from commercial websites, including the PRC. One actor downloaded the full this activity represents nearly identifying features like his PRC, one acres in U.S. elections, and PR information obtained to include names and party applications, email addresses, physical addresses, and phone numbers. Could, in theory, be leveraged to carry out anything from one operation to election influence operations, although the actual motivation for collecting information is unknown. The victim information was passed to appropriate the agencies for CND response actions. Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Michigan, Oklahoma, Rhode Island. States historically U.S. voter registration information from 2013 to 2021 was downloaded by PRC one actor on January 14, 2022 from U.S. commercial websites and a U.S. IP addresses hosted on their things. U.S. states voter registration information on the same day as an Ohio voter registration application was also interested to the PRC1 actor, but failed to download from the U.S. state government's website. While the PRC government has historically demonstrated interest in U.S. elections, this is a newly identified interest for this individual actor. The U.S. voter registration information is available for public download, with voter registration information belonging for some PRC actors could theory leverage PI information, basically organizations interested in physical
to support independent media.
addresses phone numbers for anything from the future wine operations to election influencers operations. Election security organizations should be aware that the U.S. state voter registration information may be hosted on websites outside the control of government agencies, that APT actors may harvest voter registration information outside monitoring election security organizations. It's very interesting. Oh, say the least. This is kind of basically somewhat. Fuck, where my glasses go? So this is basically just some fucking like hacking like databases from like China. Basically, they're talking about. That's just basically. I'm not gonna read that. It's half. It's fucking redacted. See, I can't really. I was only really read. It's like this shit's fucking redacted. The classified document shows a people involved in China and they compromised U.S. medical data for 20 million records of U.S. Social Security funds, along with voter registration. Go change my song real quick. Jesus Christ, this is a lot, Chad. This is a lot to fucking read, dude. I've been reading this for 2 hours. 2 hours of reading this. I've been reading this for 2 hours and 9 minutes, man. So it's just been a lot to fucking read. This is from Compromised Data from 2019, which PRC was in possession of a document of whoever in 2019 was redacted that contained a list of entities and the data yielded while a completely small portion of the first entity's future data was primary data from between 2009 and 2018. Of a particular note, the majority of the entities consisted data sort of personality identical information. PIs potentially indicating that the bulk collection of such PI had been their goal. Furthermore, these rubber data, some sets including several characters characterized as photo registration records. On the Pacific U.S. citizen medical database, 28 million records, social security numbers, office redacted, names, U.S. medical servers, and important data. Oh, that's fucking real. All these are just fucking redacted. Okay.
That's not a championship team. Must be fun. And then there's Philadelphia, where I go. What they found, they were just so concerned they couldn't high usage rate guys.
Okay, that's very interesting. I would say the least, I would guess. It's funny how it's like little entities. It's literally from fucking Mission Impossible. The last two Mission Impossible movies are told the entity, dude. Just like some fucking Mission Impossible, man. It's just like, bro.
So he's either going back home.
Okay. So about this guy. Shows the public Republic, People's Republic of China saying sensitive voter registration data over 8 million North voters. Some data include detailed historical records of detailed voter ballot and polling records and election donation expenses as well. Demographic information, voter registration data from 18 states. Alaska, Connecticut, Florida, Maryland, New York, and DC. Well, DC's not a fucking state, even though the Democrats are trying to make it a state. Doesn't really make sense. The North Carolina data contain information on 8 million voters. Give us a second.
I think it's the same thing here. I think Rich Walker got the information, has told us he wants to have fun and find happiness. So to me, if it's Cleveland, Golden State, and that's
Kansas data contain the following of PI, first name, first middle, last name, suffix, date of birth, phone area codes, phone exchange numbers, phone numbers last 4 digits, historical phone records, home mail address, military information, and political party information.
And I just think
That's. Bro, I don't want to believe this, man. I don't know what to think. I'm not saying this is fake. I'm not saying this is true. It's like how I felt. It's like how I felt when I read through the Epstein files. It was hard to believe some of this shit that was fucking coming out, bro. So this basically is saying that China basically was rigging like 8 million votes in North Carolina. Basically, I guess they're basically referring to their full basically having like I don't know, like fake like basically Chinese people. I don't know, like Chinese people pretend to be living in North Carolina. I guess I have no fucking idea. Let me read through this one. All of it's like, it's probably basically all of this is redacting. The classified states, the classified document states that the People's Republic of China obtained and analyzed PI voter registration from 18 states in the 22 midterm elections. Okay, something for the midterms. Last midterms are coming up in a couple of months. Some data includes detailed historical records of detailed voter ballot and polling records, election donations, expenses as well. Okay, we already read for that one. Alright, this is one. Okay. Polling place name and address. The data contains voter demographic PI, which would be used for finding PI on U.S. citizens. The voter registration information could be used to evaluate U.S. identities. It could be used to analyze and discover the identities of the U.S. targets. Additionally, voter registration data serves as source for opinion and analysis on U.S. general election. That wasn't that the kangaroo wasn't really fully clear, to be honest with you. So, sorry. FBI opened a 2021 investigation into 8,000 alleged fraudulent. I really read for that one. Biden won Georgia by 11,790 votes in 2020. Georgia counted 11,781 votes. So this one was actually, good God, that was so close. Give me that.
Everybody's got
Jeez, my fucking radio, bro. Oh my God.
You will get the feed. You will get the first pass.
Look how close it was. It's like a 0.2 difference, man. Jesus, that was so close. My ass just.
But the entire vibe shift is
It was very, very close.
And I don't even know how to quantify
Okay, that's.
it doesn't matter what the sport is because there's no comp, there's no borders. And when you watch Messi, sometimes
Alright, we
you
saw
watch
that
him
document.
and consistently he just separates from even the other players like Kane and Bellingham. All things considered, going in the
How many more documents have they released, man? Are they doing like another wave like they did with the with the Epstein files, or this is basically it?
look, any sport.
How did he win?
Any sport. Many more so than anything.
CIA notes from election interference to closely document showed that China's plan to deploy all assets. In mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in efforts to reduce the U.S. president's votes to make him resign or prevent his re-election. All assets to avoid against President Trump. The following contains portions of sensitive reporting that was this minted between 2018 and 2020 relating to the People's Republic of China. This is not a comprehensive set office or summary of all the reform this minted during the time period. In mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce U.S. president's votes and make him resign or defend his re-election. Also in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results to the U.S. midterm elections and later results of the 2020 U.S. presidential elections. As a part of this campaign, China was analyzing the 2016 presidential elections and identifying states who voted for the U.S. president. The Chinese would identify sectors with these states that voted for the U.S. president's political party and would attempt to make this sector's experience negative financial consequences by leaving tariffs on Chinese to exports to China from those sectors. The Chinese hope that these measures would induce representatives these sectors to lobby the U.S. president. As of mid-2018, the PRC's ultimate goal with regard to the U.S. Elections was for the U.S. president not to be re-elected. China found the uncertainty of the U.S. administration's unsettling separated the Chinese Communist parties. Huge numbers of means the expert influence over the discipline would speak back what China's interests were.
It doesn't make any sense in this
Somehow
state.
China rigged
You know, in
the
America,
election
we have
in favor of Joe
Jesus
Biden.
Christ, it's
And then Joe Biden
been so much to read.
became president, and then
It's kind of believable, particularly it's kind of hard to believe what I'm reading, dude.
So
It's
the
like,
elections are only rigged under Trump.
man.
Like it literally
Yeah, man.
does not make sense. If the elections were rigged,
She faking a relationship with me. I don't even know.
Joe Biden won by 50, how the fuck did you win again in 2024?
So,
But of course,
if China really
we
rigged
don't
the
deal in
election
truths
against it,
any
right?
longer.
Why is he so
We don't
friendly
have
with
a
fucking
lot
Xi
of
Jinping? Why is he so friendly
critical
with
thinking
China?
in the
And
United
why would they
States.
not rig it again in
Who just
in
will listen to
2024?
every single thing that he said.
It's just, I don't know, it's just fucking crazy. Separately, the Chinese government, okay, so, China's interest with senior U.S. officials. China regularly extended invitations to influential U.S. individuals to travel to China for speaking engagements, for which they were paid to speaking fees along with first-class travel accommodation. This was affected partially, particularly with think tank officials, academics, and former U.S. government employees. The goal of these activities was to get either the U.S. corporation or U.S. officials a hook on China by doing the Chinese relied on these entities. And it was forced them to walk with the U.S. president to talk with the U.S. president about tariffs. In mid-2020, China assumed that means to get advantage of the U.S. policy was direct additional specific resources toward political swing states. As China assessed these states would play a critical role in the 2020 presidential election. Along with this, it was also recommended that China apply pressure. All right, that's pretty interesting. So basically, what's basically saying, that like China was basically trying to pursue people in the government to basically shit on Trump, basically, and promote a negative propaganda to basically stop for Trump to get reelected. Basically, it's basically what it's basically saying there. So, and also, as you know, around this time, this is when Trump started the trade war in China back in 2018. It's funny how he started the trade war, then again, obviously last year.
So, it's why does anybody say that? And then
we were warned what was coming from China. Look how similar this week. Everything was coordinated operation from the CCP, White Act. I just read all of that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've read all of that.
every single
Alright, that's let me go change my song. Good God, I just can't believe I've been reading. How have I been reading? I've been reading for almost 2.5 hours. Oh my God, this is
literally no other explanation.
Is it
I
all?
cannot even fathom
There is also that
how bitchless this motherfucker is. It's ridiculous. It is honestly inconceivable. It is inconceivable.
Passports
Inconceivable.
have more free time, a higher likelihood of going out and being able to get
Why is Closey a higher level?
done.
That's a good question.
More on the ball.
Okay.
It's because he's the most bitchless motherfucker to exist.
Motivation to go out.
I think
Again in the news, our big story, our feature story for tonight is all about this brand new amendment
A real
to an appropriation.
I think that's all. I think that's all of
Now, this
the
amendment was
documents. Jeez, I read
sponsored and
2.5
created by
hours.
It's not going to be
My
And this
thoughts.
is a bill that would have stripped Israel of all U.S.
Very interesting.
Every dollar, every cent.
Very, very interesting. It's,
Humanitarian and every other
I don't know, man. I'm kind of neutral. I really am neutral. I'm not denying it, but I'm not fully accepting it either. I don't know what to believe. That's how I felt when I read through the episode.
There's no.
I don't know. It would be insane if all this was true. If this is all true, right, and all this stuff that I just basically read for the last 2.5 hours were true, then these people need to be fucking jail. Maybe tried for treason. But these people are not going to go to fucking jail. They're not going to go to jail at all, sadly. So, will they prosecute these people? I have no idea.
It lasts for 10 years.
Oh wait,
was an increase.
is there more?
3.6, it went up to
Is there more
$3.8
stuff?
billion per
Assume
year.
a version of that is going to
They are
happen.
passing this
Even if he
appropriations
is
bill in the
capable of
House, and
No, I
Thomas
don't think
Massey
there's
created an
any more.
amendment that says
He
we're
doesn't
going to
have
take
the
away
time frame to be
every
able
Oh,
to do this in the next
sure.
4 months.
dollar of
If he
foreign
we
aid
got
that
the
we did
tax.
all 3.8 plus.
I guess we got like text messages from these
And the
FBI
majority of
agents. Go with them real quick. Then we go
voted in favor
work on
of
some other
this
stuff.
amendment to take away Israel's forces.
Good morning, Sunshine.
And this is a
You
story
you
that's
got the
from New York
briefs for
Times.
the update.
The House
I'll
on
have this
Wednesday
from
rejected a measure to eliminate
the
U.S.
dates
aid
from.
to Israel.
I'll have
But
to
almost
leave
half of
early to go
Democrats supported
to a
the measure, which
Yankee
sought to
Stone
cut all
crap.
4.3
Should be
billion
all
in military
fine.
and humanitarian aid to Israel from a foreign affairs spending
Do you
bill
have
failed by a vote of
a
104
cereal
to 314.
for the IR you mentioned to me last week?
Thomas Massey of Kentucky voting no.
Harm the process.
Talk to
More
the
Democrats
PDP,
supported it
the
than opposed it,
PDP briefer.
including many who
That's
said they
why I'm
voted in
asking.
favor despite their opposition.
She's also
to cuts in
asking if there was
humanitarian aid.
a revision on
Supporters
the
said the
Russian
measure was their
ones.
only way to register their opposition to the
There
actions
should
of the Israeli
there should
government
have been,
in Gaza,
yes,
the West Bank,
provides
and
the source
Lebanon, and
statement.
their desire for a fundamental change
Because I haven't seen it. My team is not in yet to confirm that. Let me check. Sentinel. Okay, I looked into our system, but didn't see it. But the systems I used to look at your IRs is not friendly, so it might be somewhere. Smiley face. Then, yeah, it doesn't look like they're pushing out any revisions yet. For fuck's sake. The director of the original in his books is saying, we're going to push out a note today, all FOS. That's an also election like IRS. Must come through HD. I'm basically running a shadow government across the FBI at this point. You do what you have to do, smiley face, hanging there, I told blank. You just need to get through December. There's a couple weeks in November. Where he goes to town. No joke. I want to take like a 2-week vacay in January. My goal is to take a month off for July 2021. I'm scared to finish here June 2021. Then I plan to take July off. That's my goal. Don't leave sad face. Since Alan can't say it on the PDB brief, can you let me know how to convoke goes about this IRS? Yes, we'll let you know for sure. Crazy. If your boss is half a 9:30, suspect, it means we'll be short. We are only up to blank. And it's almost 8:30.
Influence operations.
Good lord, yeah. I had a few things, but I'll just pass. This is always happening when I have a few things that might be useful to the group LOL. Very fucking interesting. It's this shit. The director of Insider Risk Microsoft. Will the administration and will the DOJ go after this chick? Nah, probably not. They won't go after her. I would be highly surprised if they did. Highly surprised. Alright, we just looked at those ones already. Wow, that was some insane shit. Also, we got arrested for a cop from Shooting University.
Watch it on the backside by 99. Watch it. It's clean.
Donald Trump
Okay.
took this a step further in his
And then take a
Okay.
look at the meat that the Tim Crumrine knows right there.
Clowns off wax feed. Oh shit.
confidence
Um.
that people had in your president.
All right.
Something along those lines. He says something along those lines, which I thought was funny.
Man, all that shit was insane. I hope it's not true. I really hope it's not true. But part of me just, I don't know. I'm kind of like neutral on this for now. I'm not saying, I'm not denying it, but I'm not accepting it either. I just don't know what to really think. I just don't know what to really, think about all of this. It's just pretty fucking insane. That's all I have to say. We're gonna go finish the JD Vance and Rogan interview. Especially since I'm telling me a lunch about the 2020 things. Yeah, that shit was fucking interesting, I'll say the least. I don't know if they're gonna set out like more documents or that shit's or just be like a big bash. Like it wasn't the anti-trust where they're releasing it slowly. I don't know. I'm gonna go now, go back. Look at the finished source of the JD Vance interview. Just go to my search history. Man, I read through that for 2.5 hours. Good God. Where's that? There it is.
Actually trying to do is accomplish what the President of the United States told me to accomplish, which is a settlement of this that accomplishes our objectives. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. We have the free flow of oil and gas. And like, I should be clear, like, I don't actually mind. I don't mind that let's say certain elements of the Israeli government want to criticize the deal or have disagreements about the deal. I don't even mind an effort to try to influence. Foreign governments try to influence the United States all the time. Israel does it, other countries do it. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. What bothers me is actually when Americans allow, meaning American leadership, allows that influence to affect their judgment and to affect what they are advocating for. That's what really bothers me. People are always going to try to influence the United States of America, whether they're allies of ours or whether they're enemies of ours. But again, when I open up the pages of Time magazine and I see that there's a literal foreign influence campaign being funded to tank the very deal that I was pursuing, and oh, by the way, many of the people who were receiving that money were actually attacking me in completely dishonest ways, my response to that is, well, go to hell. I'm going to do what I have to do for the American people. I represent Americans first, and that's the way that I've tried to do this job. And the crazy thing is, I'm like, people don't realize this. I'm actually in this, there's this massive pro-Israel, anti-Israel debate.
Well, this one is a sorry, we watched this yesterday.
I'm like the reasonable option. And I think that's what so many people don't realize is, I've been accused of being an anti-Semite. I've been accused
For
of,
what reason?
quite literally for, I've been accused of trying to, I guess, some people say that I've insulted the Jewish religion, which is insane. Like I have a ton of respect for the Jewish religion. I mean, if you talk about,
what specifically did you say?
I don't know. I've never heard of a good, compelling argument for why I'm an anti-Semite, even though I've been accused of being an anti-Semite by many people. But what I say to these guys is, look at public opinion, look at the way young Republicans versus Republicans over the age of 65 approach this issue. Like, right now, Israel is losing the public opinion battle in the United States of America. It is a simple and obvious fact. Donald Trump has said that publicly. It's a simple and
Why do you
obvious
think
fact.
that is?
Well, let me finish this point.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my attitude is towards this is Israel is an ally.
The reason why
Like France or like the United Kingdom, we're going to have disagreements with them. We're going to have agreements with them. There are areas where we're going to have similar interests and areas where our interests are going to diverge. So my approach to this is to say, you know what? When we're partnered, great, let's work together. And we're not, let's just be honest about it. And for that, people attack me for being an anti-Semite or anti-Israel, and they don't see the writing on the wall that I'm actually just the guy advocating for a normal relationship with a normal country that's based around shared interest as opposed to based around, something else. So why is Israel losing? Why is Israel losing American public opinion?
Well, the narrative is that Israel has a very disproportionate effect on American politics.
Yeah, I see that. I see that narrative. I mean, I actually think that they look. Do they try to influence American politics? Yes, but like I said earlier, a lot of other countries do. I think
to the extent that Israel does.
I think some are better at it than others. I think the Israelis are definitely more effective at it than most, but I wouldn't say that they're the only effective country by any means that tries to influence American politics. I just think you have to be self-aware about it. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's a country of 9 million people. We have 330 million people. And so, of course, they're going to try to persuade Americans. They're going to try to move Americans in one direction or another. I think that's just the nature of the beast.
But it's more than that. The concern is that they're spying on American politicians, that there's concerns about funding, there's concerns about influence, there's concerns about whether or not politicians whether they're aligned with Israel or whether they're aligned with the United States first.
Well, certainly, I definitely get those concerns, but my sense is that the way that all foreign influence works in the United States is people try to manipulate American public opinion, and then from manipulating the public opinion, they try to get the outcomes that they want. And this thing is a very good example of this. So, we know, I'm telling you, beyond a reasonable doubt, we know that the negotiation strategy that the president has asked us to pursue, and again, with limitations, like when the Iranians hit ships, the president has been willing to knock the hell out of the Iranians in response. This is not just a negotiation. It's negotiation, it's military, it's all these things. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there have been people within the Israeli government who are trying to, actually shift us away from that policy because they want to continue the military campaign. And by the way, there are people within their government that I love, I have good relationships with. I hope, and I don't think that they're part of this. I mean, the ambassador of Israel to the United States, I think is actually a really good guy. Obviously, he cares about Israel first. I care about America first. But there are some people within their system we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on indefinitely. Again, not towards any objectives, but just indefinitely. So, does it happen? Yes. But I guess what I would say to the Americans who sort of see this and are frustrated by it, my attitude would be, you should be frustrated at American leaders who are, persuaded by this, affected by this. Countries are going to do what countries do. I really don't. It doesn't bother me that Qatar tries to influence the United States of America, and they do. I like a lot of Qataris, like I like a lot of the Israelis. It doesn't bother me that Israel tries to do this. Frankly, it doesn't bother me that Russia or some of the other countries do it. It's just the nature of being a political leader in 2026. What does bother me is when those operations, those influence campaigns actually affect American political judgment, because they shouldn't. Because we should be thinking, what is in the best interest of the United States of America?
Do you think that Israel is affecting American political judgment?
I mean, I certainly think that there are a lot of talking points and there are a lot of arguments that make their way into American political discourse. I think there are a lot of social media campaigns that definitely influence Americans and affect Americans. Do I think that it's been dispositive on any particular issue? Like, I think that's a much more difficult question.
Do you think that we would have started this war in Iran without the influence of Israel?
I think the president, completely separate from any influence from Israel, believes very strongly, and again, I agree with this, that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon.
Right,
and I
but
think he was
after
willing
we
to do things.
bombed them in June, right? That was the initial attack, right?
June of last year.
Yeah.
Midnight Hammer, yeah.
Right. Do you think he would have continued with the most recent campaign if it wasn't for the influence of Israel?
Yes, I do.
Really?
I do. Yeah.
I don't
Look, I mean,
know.
I
I'm
think,
sorry. I can't buy it. I just don't buy it.
again, and I see this, and I see it even from people that are in our coalition. This would be my flip side to the hawks who have been attacking me or the president mercilessly over negotiation. I would sort of turn this back on some of the doves or some of the realists who have been attacking the president of the United States.
The doves? Those are the peace people?
Peace people.
That's what you call them, the
Hawks and
doves?
You never heard that phrase?
I've heard hawks. I don't think I've ever heard doves.
Like hawks and pigeons, hawks and I don't know.
I think it's more doves. Peace,
Doves
right?
is good, right? So what I think a lot of people, I've heard this argument, is this idea that Donald Trump, was sort of, I've even heard people say he was directional into this.
Yeah.
It's not true. It's just not true. I've seen the decision making up close. Again, whether you agree or disagree with our negotiation, or whether you agree or disagree with the decision to launch the campaign Epic Fury to begin with, the idea that Donald Trump is being blackmailed is crazy to me. Because again, I see the way that he makes decisions. I see the way that he processes this stuff. Like the idea that he picks up the phone with anybody and says, hey, I'm going to take orders from you. No, that's just not how Donald Trump operates.
Can you understand, though, why people would come to that conclusion, especially because of the Epstein files?
What do you mean?
Well, the Epstein files were supposed to be released, and there was a tremendous amount of resistance to those files being released. And that concerned a lot of people. Because if you're talking about very wealthy, powerful people that were engaged in crimes,
I see. So you're basically saying the fear is that whatever's in the Epstein files was used to blackmail the administration into doing these things.
Or at the very least, the people that were involved in the Epstein files that didn't want them coming out had undue influence.
Well, again, say this with all candor, we absolutely screwed up the comms on the Epstein files, we just did. But do I think the reason we screwed up the comms is because we were trying to hide something? No. I think the reason we screwed up the comms in the Epstein files is one, Pam Bondi said the client list is on my desk, right?
Well, they had binders. They were
100% right. But those binders were largely documents that had already been released, right? So let me try to.
Well, what was
let me try to defend.
Purpose of that performative display of the Epstein files? And she was saying there's tens of thousands of hours of film.
I don't know what the purpose of it was, but I know that the effect of it was to make people mistrust the entire effort. And what I think was happening, look, I know Pam, I like Pam. I don't think there was anything malicious going on. I think Pam was trying to respond to the political moment. I think she overstated what we had and what we didn't have. And I think that she, got roasted for it publicly by a lot of people, including me. I've talked about this a lot. I'm one of the OG Epstein conspiracy theorists. I've probably gone down every single rabbit hole. We could go down most of them today. Look, the original sin of the Epstein investigation, and obviously I'm biased here, but it was not what Donald Trump and the administration did in 2025. It was, you have to go back to 2007, 2008. The original Alex Acosta investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, where he basically dropped the federal charges. I think Epstein ended up getting prosecuted on some sort of local thing. But the original warrant back in 2008, what was he looking for? What was he allowed to look for? What were they collecting? it was not looking at a broader conspiracy. So that happens. Okay. Epstein gets pinched. I think he goes to prison, or maybe this is when he was on house arrest.
Mhm.
But
Northern Twine his ass off.
Get serious.
He's like a smart, sneakier, like driving electronics.
like anything that existed from the 80s and 90s up to 2006, 2007, anything that existed that we didn't get back then was disappeared. Right. So like when people say, has what you've seen on the inside make you think that that Epstein never blackmailed people, or that Epstein never engaged in broader sex trafficking? No, absolutely not. What I have seen, and I've looked at most of the files, is that there just wasn't dispositive evidence. And if that dispositive evidence ever existed, it was probably destroyed after 2006, 2007. Now, again, in our defense, yes, was there some bitching and moaning, and was there some back and forth? Yes, but we eventually collected 6 million documents as part of the effort. The president, people say the president was forced into releasing the documents. Like, again, the idea that Donald Trump could not have killed that legislation, especially with the United States Senate,
he was kind of
is a
forced.
joke. He absolutely couldn't. So what did he do? He actually said, nope, we're going to release these files. He thought, he was annoyed by the story. He was annoyed by the Democrats accusing him of doing things bad. By the way, like, do I think there is I've never seen a single piece of credible evidence that the President of the United States engaged in wrongdoing with minors, ever. So like when the president says oops, that's what he's talking about, is this democratic idea that he somehow was a pedophile. It's absurd. There's no evidence for it. Now, the Epstein law gets signed. We find 6 million documents. We find out 3 million of them are actually responsive, has something to do with the Epstein estate. We release all of them, with the exception of a few things that are like, the courts have said that we have to redact certain things, we can't release certain files. But like, we did release all these files. Did it take longer than it should have taken? Yes. But we did release these files. And again, the problem here is not like anything that's in the files or not in the files. The problem is, if you go back to the original investigation, it was designed in a way that was way too narrow. If there was a broader conspiracy, and my view is that there probably was, the evidence that existed in 2007, that was the opportunity to get.
So when you say there probably was a broader conspiracy, what exactly are you saying?
I think there are a few different options. I mean, look, man, you and I could literally do 2 episodes about this. I've gone on down to every rabbit hole. There's this funny New York Times story that's somewhat true, somewhat false, but where Susie Wiles, the White House chief of staff, says, well, we know JD's a conspiracy theorist on this. Like, I am, actually. I've gone down every rabbit hole here. Look, so there's the theory that whether it was American intel or foreign intel, that Epstein was sort of using sort of the sex ring to blackmail rich and powerful people. There's that piece of it. I think there's a separate conspiracy that hasn't gotten covered as much, which is that Epstein actually, if you go back to the original Epstein guy, was Les Wexner, who Columbus, Ohio, was the wealthiest person in Ohio, maybe still is the wealthiest person in the state of Ohio. The thing that everybody in Columbus, I lived there for a time, knew about the Wexner-Epstein relationship is that Epstein was the tax guy. That Epstein was like the genius at identifying weird tax strategies that would allow you to not have to pay taxes, but if you were being a little skeptical, would also say that it would allow Epstein to either blackmail people or to have a separate nexus of influence and control on rich and powerful people. And so I think there's an underreported, underexplored story of was Epstein like doing a lot of tax stuff that was not on the up and up? And is that one way in which he gained blackmail? It's not opposite of the sexual blackmail story, but in some ways it's you could imagine both things being true. I also just think there's an element of he was a scumbag. He was a very sick person. He built relationships with a lot of other rich and powerful people who just didn't have any real moral judgment about the fact that the guy was obviously a scumbag. And again, to go back to defending Donald Trump, I know people don't want to hear this these days. Who was the guy? People say Donald Trump was blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein. Who was the guy who narked on Epstein to the Palm Beach police? That's in the Epstein files.
Right.
It was Donald Trump.
He also kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago.
He kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. It's just
It's obvious that Epstein was a sick man.
yes, but if people want to say we mishandled the Epstein release, guilty. We did mishandle it, especially the communications.
What do you think should have been done?
I think that we should have just dropped everything at the very beginning. And like obviously it takes a little time to review the stuff, to find the stuff, to redact things where you have victims and so forth. But we should have just done it as quickly as possible.
But some of the stuff that was redacted, some of the names that were redacted weren't victims.
So I've looked into this, and my understanding of this, having looked at a lot of this, but not all of it, is that it is sometimes hard to draw a distinction between victim and co-conspirator. And let me highlight this in a very sort of obvious way. Ro Khanna, who's been one of the loudest voices on the Epstein file. Well, he became very loud on the Epstein files the minute Donald Trump became president. About it during the Biden.
I'm sure he's killing the Epstein
He actually
files.
brought one of the Epstein victims, I think, to the State of the Union last year. Maybe it was the year before last. Well, that victim, and I'm not saying she wasn't a victim. I don't know anything about her particular case. She was also listed as a co-conspirator in some of these documents, right? So there's an idea that some of the people who were engaged in the sex trafficking were also, facilitating it as well.
So they were incentivized to get more girls.
Yeah, but yes, that's right. But the idea is that it's hard to sort of, it's sometimes a little bit of a gray area between, some of the people who were alleged victims were also alleged co-conspirators. And so what DOJ tried to do was kind of make that judgment as best they could and release as much as possible.
But it's clear that he was trying to get in contact with people that he felt were influential. It was clear that he was trying to get people to get together on the island and meet at parties. So there was something he was doing where he was trying to either influence people or compromise people.
Right.
So it's not, there's some sort of an operation that was going on.
There is a story there. And, I will go to my deathbed believing there's a story there, but I can't prove it. And I promise you there's not some document that at least I'm hiding that allows us to prove exactly what was going on.
He was also trying to get scientists, and this is one of the reasons supposedly
100%.
why he got that
Okay, so
ranch in New Mexico.
So a friend of mine has this element. Sorry, just step back. Conspiracy theories. One of the ways you discredit a conspiracy theory, I thought about this a lot, is try to hide it. Another way you discredit conspiracy theory is by flooding the zone. So one of the things I've tried to do when looking at all this stuff is to try to understand sort of where it fits in and to try to separate the real from the fake. But one really interesting element of the whole Jeffrey Epstein saga. Okay, so he dies in 2019, right? This is at the very end of the first Trump administration. His death coincides very, very closely. This is not my observation. This is a friend, but I don't want to, reveal confidences here. It coincides very closely with the end of what you might call the era of censorship in academia. So back in 2019, 2020, we reached sort of peak academic censorship, where people wouldn't publish a medical study because it might have sort of disparate impact racial undertones, or people were getting fired from academia for not doing land acknowledgement, stuff like that. Okay, I'm not saying that stuff has completely gone away, but Epstein, we know, was funding a ton of scientists. By the way, where did his money come from? He's funding a ton of scientists, but when he died, it's almost like the era of censorship started to break. He was also plugged into a lot of in academia, but also, he was plugged into the social media companies. Like, this is a dude who knew everybody. He knew everybody. So I don't know. Well, from given part of it is suspect tax advice and setting up tax schemes for a lot of very, very rich people.
Right, but why was he motivated to influence academia, and what was the purpose?
I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I have theories. There's of course
Well, most people think he was Mossad.
Yeah, Mossad or CIA or some other deep state, whether in America or Israel or another country, or both. Look, he clearly had connections to the highest levels of American intelligence. He clearly had connections to the highest levels of Israeli intelligence. In fact, one of the interesting things the Epstein saga reveals about, and I try to make this point, is one of the reasons why I'm always careful, and I say there are some elements within the Israeli government who don't like our peace process, because there are a lot of elements within the Israeli government that actually do like our peace process. They recognize that this indefinite campaign is not good for them either. And the Epstein thing is interesting because as much as I know, Prime Minister Netanyahu, not a particularly popular person in the United States of America right now, Epstein seemed to be connected to the elements of the Israeli deep state that were left of center. I've always found that fascinating. It wasn't like he was super connected to the right of center of Israeli politics. America, he was connected across the board. Like he had Republican friends, he had Democratic friends. He had much deeper connections to the Israeli left of center than right of center. I don't know what that means. I was hanging out with Steve Bannon and Exactly. He had, again, in America, he had friends across the political spectrum in a way he didn't necessarily have in Israel.
I had one of my guests try to get me to meet him.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
2017.
See, that's crazy to me, because at that point he'd already gone down for at least one sex abuse.
That was my possession. I'll show you the emails. Okay. They're kind of funny. I actually read them on stage. People can find it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have the guy's already ruined.
Sure. But dude, it's.
I Googled it and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
See, but this goes back to my original point.
This is part of what he was doing, right? He wanted to get influential people.
But you go back to the original 2007 warrant on Jeffrey Epstein. All of the really crazy shit happened from the 90s to 2007. Yeah. That's when he was at the peak of his power. That's when he hadn't yet gone down on a sex abuse scandal. Like, it's your point, right? Even if you have some scumbags who are willing to introduce him to Joe Rogan in 2017, there are a lot of Joe Rogans, or at least some, who are going to say, wait a second, I'm going to Google this guy and find out that he's a predator. A lot didn't.
That was really crazy.
A lot didn't, but some did. And my point is that would limit his influence. But if you go back to like the 1990s, the early 2000s, that is the stuff. I think that is like the black hole of the Epstein saga. We don't have nearly enough from that era.
For a little bit fucking believe this reason why.
And
because
we had
it was destroyed.
I think we had a prosecution that explicitly was so narrow that whatever existed would not have even been caught up.
Right. So they were specifically going after him for underage sex. And they didn't look at the full picture of the operation.
They didn't even try to.
Well, that was one of the things about the prosecutor was told that he was above their pay grade. I mean, it was one of the things that
he said he was like CIA or something.
Yeah.
Right?
He said, I was told he was intelligent.
Right. And yes, I've asked were there documents connecting Jeffrey Epstein directly to our intelligence agencies or anybody else's? And the answer is no. But if that shit existed, it wouldn't exist in 2026.
What is it like being the vice president? Like, how much access do you have to information? Because
so I'll give you another conspiracy. So I have like effectively unlimited access to information.
Unlimited.
But I think that one of the things that I've learned about the job is you're doing so much on the day-to-day. Like you're calling senators and trying to get them to pass a piece of legislation. You're meeting with staff about what should go in the housing bill. You're negotiating with the Iranians or the Qataris or the Israelis about something that's going on in the Middle East. And a lot of it, like the UFO thing, like I've said that I'm going to look into the UFO thing. And I've been saying that for a year and a half. And I haven't done it yet. And so some of this is like, you just have to have the time to actually punch through the walls and to like go to the gatekeepers and say you have to open up that gate because I'm the vice president. And some of it is just hard to actually get to because I don't have the time to sort of focus on that one issue for any particular period of time. So the answer is you have unlimited access to information. The constraint is not people tell me no. The constraint is you're just so busy doing other shit.
The UFO thing, I think, would be something that I would want to pursue.
Yes.
I mean, just for my own personal information, I would want to know what is going on.
Correct.
So the question is, are these special access programs that are above top secret and that this is our own stuff, or is this something that's far more bizarre and something that is interdimensional from another planet, whatever, right? Fill in the blank.
Yeah, is it foreign? And if it's foreign, is it 6,000 miles away or like 6,000 light years away?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And that is, I will answer that question eventually.
Really?
Yes. I'll get to the bottom of it.
How are you gonna have the time to do that? Like, what would be what would that entail?
Eventually, I'll have like a few weeks where I can just sit down and worry about that problem.
You said something that I thought was very
here's an interesting thing, though. I will say that is one of those conspiracy theories that there are a lot of people in our government who are interested, meaning our current political leadership who are interested in this question. And it hasn't, like, nothing has really happened yet, which makes me a little bit less interested in it. Because there are a lot of people with access to those files and access to that information, and nothing has changed since Biden left office, which makes me think other people have looked into it and they just haven't necessarily found something. But anyway, I eventually, I promise you, I'm going to, like, sit down and spend a couple of weeks trying to figure out what's in these files. I just haven't done it yet.
You said something that I thought was very odd. That you said that you thought that they were demons.
Okay, I did say that.
What did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, there not just in Christianity, but in a number of world religions, there are a number of, like, mystical things that happen, extra dimensional, extra. Like, I'm not one of these people who's like a hyper rationalist. Like, I think that there are things happening in the world that we're not always seeing. I believe in God. I think that there is a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not extra real.
Supernatural.
Supernatural. There are supernatural things that happen. Okay. So, if you look historically at, things that are similar to the alien phenomenon, where, some like strange being, it kind of looks like a human being, but doesn't look like, that's not human. And it shows a particular interest in human beings. And then it takes the human beings and, does weird experiments on them. I think my argument is that's either bullshit, right? You're either talking to a crazy person, which I don't like. I'm not saying just because I believe in the supernatural doesn't mean I believe in everything supernatural. But if we're talking about an extraterrestrial being that is human-like but not human, that contains effectively infinite powers and is torturing human beings, you can call it an alien if you want, but I think there's a lot of historical precedent to call that a demon.
Well, a lot of these
All right, guys, I know there's still like an fuck. I know there's still like an hour left of this. I'm fucking tired, bro. I'm tired, man. I've been up for like 3 hours. I am tired. We'll finish the rest of it tomorrow. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was gonna be looking through those for all those files for the last, for like 2.5 hours. That was a lot of shit I read. Then we watched the Trump speech. So basically that was almost 3 hours of me, looking through all that stuff. So, I'm sorry we didn't get to look at some the Iran stuff and some of the Fox News videos. I'll try to do that tomorrow, obviously. What I'm going to do tomorrow is the first thing I'm going to go do is finish like the Rogan and JD fans interviews, like an hour left. Then we'll like look through, like the Fox News articles, what's been like going, will be going on for like tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be more about what Trump is saying. Then, if there's like more like Iran stuff, we'll go like look at that. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow. I'm gonna play Madden tomorrow. Play more of that tomorrow. I'll be streaming also on Twitch, Kick. So yeah, it was a little bit of a longer stream because there's a lot of crazy shit to look at. There's a lot of information to look at, so it's definitely crazy. I don't know if that's even real. I was just looking at it for 2.5 hours, so I was just looking at bullshit. I don't know, man. Alright, guys, I'm gonna get off. Then I'll be back on tomorrow. So, bye, guys.